All right, so let's see what's in these boxes.
I like the box so far. It's no issues with it.
All right, box number one. Okay. Let's use a screwdriver on here to open this up. Just wanna take a look at the camera, make sure we're in view. All right. Okay, let's see what's in box number one. Okay.
Oh yes, I have an entire video on how to set up TIA internet and how to do kill switch for your video.
Oh, we got popcorn.
And how to do the policy.
Fucking hate popcorn. Shit, makes a mess. Okay, what do we got? We have.
Yes.
They sent us a manual here. Here, I'll give a close view. So we got a manual. It says Intel 4 node server, serial number, default root password, and shit like that. Which I don't know why. I didn't ask them to install anything, and there's no hard drive. There shouldn't be anything installed at all. It's got a bunch of shit. Integrated web console. There should be nothing at all installed, unless maybe the Intel IPMI is installed on a flash or something. I've never used IPMI ever in my life, so we'll see anyway. So we'll see about that. I don't know if that's installed on a flash. I have no idea. If it is, it'll get wiped anyway. So we'll see. And in here, what do we have? Okay, actually, I think what they did was they sent. That's a power cord. I think what they did was, in order to make weight requirements for a package, another power cord. Another power cord. I think what they did was, over here is probably my chassis, and I think they sent us the 4 nodes separately. Actually, I think they sent us the power supplies separately as well. I think these are power supplies. Okay. I need a fucking regular conventional knife here.
Yes.
I don't think I have one on hand, do I? I get an idea. I got my toolbox here, and I got a Japanese saw here, so that'll work in place of a knife. For sure. Okay. Yeah, these are going to be power supplies. Now, one of the reasons I want to open this all up as well is because it was shipped to me from the UK, and it's winter time, so it's definitely going to be full of moisture. And all of these components have to air out before I power them up. So I want to get that process underway here ASAP. So here's one power supply. This is a 1600 watt power supply with a gold PCB connector on the back. Here, I'll give you guys a closer look. Yeah, and I got to walk over here, but we have a, whoops, I'm being to shake you around, but we have a, I don't know if you can see that. Here, let me flip it over the right way. We have a, whoops, I just flipped it upside down. Why is it upside down no matter which way I put it? Oh, because it's written twice. Ah, ha, 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 ha. We have a 1600 watt AC power brick. And not only do I have one of those, but lo and behold, I have 2 of those.
Have YouTubers as clients? That's a kind of answer. I have one, my cousin. I help my cousin out. So, yes, so much. So, one, I have one YouTuber. My cousin has a channel.
So, I I have two identical power supplies, just like that. And so the whole idea is that actually one of these can power the entire system once it's fully assembled. However, if one power supply dies, the other one automatically picks up with no time delay or anything like that whatsoever. So these are cold and I can feel the moisture on them. They need to air out. So let me put those aside. Alright, let's keep digging. Okay. What did I find? I found 3 power cords so far. Where's power cord number 4? Oh, right here. Okay, there's 4 power cords. I don't know why there's 4 power cords but only 2 power supplies. Unless each one's no. Yeah, that don't make any sense. I got 2 power supplies. Each power supply only has 1 power connection, but it has 4 power cords. Interesting. So let's keep digging. Let's see if we can figure out why, because I don't understand that at all. Okay. So I just want to keep as much popcorn in the box as possible, because you guys know how this stuff just kind of takes off and ends up all over the place. This is actually really light, so I mean, I assume this is one of the nodes. I mean, it's got to be a node. It's about the size of a node. Yeah, I am not going to be able to keep this popcorn from being all over the place. There's no 2 ways about that. Alright, so here's a node. Oh, I didn't know these things come with a cover over them. That's interesting. I like that. I really do.
I have no idea, but HA Lizard is a problem. I talk about that.
So that's a PCI X16, I think, on the side. Let's give you guys a closer look here. Alright. So here's one node. A bunch of cool shit in there. So essentially, what we have is this is an entire computer, right? Where on so on the back side we have what we have is we have dual NIC cards with actually, it looks like we have an SPF on this as well. That's interesting. And a VGA connector and a couple of USBs. So we have 4 of these nodes. So this is basically this is an entire computer. And we have 4 of these entire computers that slide into a greater chassis, right? So this should be pretty cool. We have 3 fans that blow air through this entire unit. And I bet these are loud AF. So that should be fun. So this slides into the whole unit. There's a power connector here that provides power to it. And then there's a PCB connector here, which also slides into the chassis, which provides some data connectivity and a few other fun little gizmos. So that's really cool. This is also my first time dealing with a server that has more than, that's more than a single node, right? So so I'm learning about that, but here's what I'm looking at here, though. This is interesting because this was not in the advertisement. This was not in the listing, but when you look at this and you read what that says, I don't know if we're focusing here or not. Okay, it's not going to focus, but on this SFP port, when I read it, it says QSFP / QSFP Plus. Now, if this has an SFP connection, I'm kind of thinking that this might have a 10 gigabit connection on it. Now, if it has QSFP Plus, it could have a 40 gigabit connection on it, but I highly, highly doubt that. And even though I highly doubt that, it doesn't mean I'm not going to check. So I'm going to have to pick up a QSFP cable and some way to test this and see what I have, because I may just yet connect SFP to my network instead of going with pure Ethernet. So we'll put that aside, and I'm going to open up the other nodes here. Again, another one of the same things. Another node, same thing over here. Same configuration on the back. 2 NIC ports that are marked 1 and 2, plus a QSFP port. So we'll see what that's all about here pretty soon. We'll put that aside. And I'll open up the other 2, because there should be 4 of these in total. And I gotta open them all because I need them to air out before I power them up, or they're gonna go poof against the wall. So, and the reason I say against the wall is because I've done this before. I mean, like 20 years ago when I was a kid and didn't know any better. And you take your computer out of storage or something like that, and it's been subject to cold temperatures, and then you have condensation that builds up, and then you plug it in and the processor just goes pop, and pieces go flying right across the room and bounce off the wall, creating the whole sound effect in full surround sound. Again, another one of the same things. Same connectors, same configuration on the back. If there's any other goodies in here. There we go with a 4th unit. Again, 100% the same configuration. So that's really cool. Put that aside. Alright. And we'll take a look. No other goodies. Let's just throw all the junk back in here. And what I packed my Christmas gifts in this year. Suckers! Look at that. I can't even fit the packaging back in the box. Right. Okay, now let's get this other one over here. There we go. Okay. I need a drink of beer. This is hard work. Whew. All right. Okay. Let's see what's behind door number 2. Doesn't work too good for that job. Okay. Alright, they sent me sliding rails. Sliding rails? Probably because I need the other half for my rack mount server, which I don't yet own. Just wondering what brand they used on these rack mount servers, because I mean, being a woodworker, cabinet maker in the past, I was just wondering if they use Accuride by any chance, because they really resemble an Accuride configuration. But that's okay, we'll put those aside and see what we see inside of here. Besides a bunch of foam. Alright. Wow, this thing's actually smaller than I thought. Much smaller. Really cool. Yeah, this thing's actually a lot smaller than what I thought it was going to be. Like, I really thought this thing was going to be massive. But it's a lot smaller than I thought. Okay. All right. Just like that. I don't think there's any other, no other toys in the box. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at that now. What's this sticking out? Piece of plastic for something, don't ask me. Get the cover off of there pretty soon. So we have 12 hard drive slots. Those are slots, not sluts, just so you guys know. Buttons for node 1, 2, 3, 4 on both sides. Are those reset and power? We're going to get closer to see. We have a button that says power and one that says ID. We've got nodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. One button says ID, one button says power. for each one. So each one comes in a pair. I still don't know anything about it. Again, I'm just learning here as well. Looks like they used to have 2 terabyte SATA drives in these trays because that's what they're labeled. And they're just empty right now. So I will have to populate those. One of the things I didn't really like was that, I mean, this is a 4-node server, and one of these I want to convert to my RAID array, or sorry, my unRAID array, and my unRAID array already has more than 3 drives in it. So one bank of 3 drives goes to one of the 4 servers that I'll show you in a second. We're going to slide into the back. So, and each one of those nodes operates as an independent machine, basically, and each independent machines can only access the bank of 3 drives, and I have more than 3 drives already to run into it. So, I just want to check these in case there's been any new toys left in there by accident or whatever, but it doesn't appear to be, so that's okay. But yeah, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get another enclosure for excess disks, and then whichever one of the nodes that I choose to be my unRAID array will also have access through like an eSATA port or a Frankenstein cable coming out of the machine, I don't care, in order to access the other bank of disks. So we'll see how that goes at that point. Let's see what else we can figure out here. I guess the top and the case is all well screwed on, so we will, I'll leave that alone for the time being, and we'll open that up at a later stage, because I really don't need in there for anything much, because, so the way this works is we have disks. Okay, the disks hook up to a backplane, which is right about here. The backplane is separated into 4 independent areas, where each 4 have a separate connection that goes to node 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? And right here we have another backplane, or a midplane, I guess you'd call it, where when I slide these servers in, they connect to this midplane, which then connects them to the disks and the power supplies and all of that fun stuff. So let's turn this around and I'll actually slide them in, and we'll see what it looks like when it's all configured. Okay. Alright, so on the back side, what you can see here, we have essentially 2 great big open holes and 1 other hole. And we're going to shove stuff in there. Okay, so we will figure that out. So I'm going to see, do they have any labels in the back here that tells me which one is node 1, 2, 3, or 4? I guess I'd have to go with the labels on the front. That's okay. So we'll start with the power supplies. So like I was saying, we have a power supply, and they slide right in there. Does it want the pin at the bottom or the top? I suppose it goes in with the strip at the bottom, given what I can see inside. So we give it like that. Yeah, it slides in there like that. Got a little handle on it, and it shoves in like that. Now it's locked in. If I want to take it out, it's actually a relief lever here on the side. So I need to squeeze the lever and then pull. But to push it in, it clicks in just like that, and I can pull, and it's in there. I can tell you it's in there. I'll give you, actually, this is a neat little cable here. So I guess for rack mount, what you do is you wrap your cable in here, right? Clamp this down and then plug it in. And what happens is, once that's clamped down, you can't just arbitrarily unplug the cable from tension, or when you're sliding this machine in and out of a rack, the cable can't just arbitrarily unplug itself because it has this thing clamped onto it. So that's actually really cool, and I love it. That said, I'll just plug in the second power supply. Again, exactly the same thing. From that, you would have 2 power cords. Ah, these are extensions. I thought it had 4 power cords, but I don't. check this out, guys. This one's an extension. Okay, this is a flimsy freaking power cable. I won't even use this. I don't like this at all. Nope, I won't use this power cable. These ones are good. These are, I wonder what gauge these are. I always check this kind of stuff and see what people sent you. So it's rated for 10 amp, 250 volt. So at 10 amp, we're good for, what's 10 amp good for? About 1,000 watts? No, this is still flimsy. If these are 1,600 watt power supplies, no, I want a 14 gauge cable minimum. And if I read the side on this, yeah, I see why. I know why. So we got a flimsy ass cable because they expect me to be running this on 240 volt, which I'm not running 240 volt. So because I'm in North America, I did order this from the UK. So what do we have on here? Because on 240 volt, I'd be able to run this on 10 gauge on like Fox 16 or 18 gauge cable, no problem. I don't even have a gauge rating on this cord. At least I can't read it anyway. Yeah, there's no gauge rating on this cord. Okay, so garbage. This one, check this out. We got flimsy flat cable. Okay, flimsy flat cable. What are we rated for? Again, I'm reading. I don't expect you guys to be able to read what I'm reading. Just trying to look for the gauge rating. And there is none. Oh, hang on. 3X 18 gauge. So we have 18 gauge cable. And they expect me to run a 1,600 watt power supply on 18 gauge? Garbage. 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 Alright, that's fine. I have plenty of power cables upstairs. Those are garbage. Those will cause a fire in my house. So with that said, I'm actually send a letter to the supplier for that too. They sent me 18 gauge cable for a 1,600 watt power supply. Are you crazy? Absolutely nuts. Yeah. So rather than start a fire in my house, we'll use the right kind of cable, and I have lots of them. So again, here it is. This is one of the servers that go into it. Just wanted to see how these come out of here. Ah, okay. Actually, there's actually little clips. Cool. Okay. All right. So we have here some really cool things. I mean, like I'm very new to the, especially the rack mount server market. I'm new to servers altogether, but I'm definitely new to rack mount servers. We've got these things. I don't know what they are. We have a CMOS or a BIOS battery that's on them, or an RTC battery. So that's in here. You guys can't see, I know, but it's buried in here. You have these little things that stick up that I have no idea what they are, but they don't remove. Besides that, I mean, I know what these are. These are coolers for CPUs. Why they're different, I don't know, because they should have two identical processors in here, which really I would think would have two identical coolers, but they're different. And it's probably something to do with the airflow of why they're different. I have no real idea, though. So that I'll have to investigate and go from there. What else do I see in here that's kind of cool? We got a bunch of other heat sinks on here. This one has no mount where it should bolt down to, but it seems to... okay, so we have... interesting. So I have a heat sink which should have a mount right here that is non-existent. So I have a heat sink which I already need to address, and I'm going to make note of that and send that to the manufacturer. Actually, I'll probably just send them to the to this video here right now, because this heat sink here, all I did was touch it and it just kind of flew off because it only has a single mount. and it had the other arm for the mount is just sticking up, and it's just, you know, there's nothing to do. These other ones are mounted fine, and they both have two mounts where they're connected to, so that's all good. This one is missing a mount in order to attach. So what I'll do though, I mean, this should still attach if I get a proper thermal compound for that, and I'll be able to make it work. I'm not sure what this processor is for, but it's bare die. It's definitely bare die. So I'll have to get a little bit closer and figure out what this is for, and then see how I'm going to cool that. Or I'll have to hit up an electronics supplier and grab a mount. Now this mount that is supposed to go in there, what happens, like there's two through holes on the PCB, which are, I'm not even going to try to show you because you're not going to see, but there's two through holes on this PCB, and I can definitely see the mount was never installed. So this was never installed right from the manufacturer, but it's definitely a defect, and it's definitely something that's going to prevent me from using this particular unit. However, with that said, we'll go ahead. Actually, I just want to check out one of these RAM sticks. We should have 32 sticks of 4 gig RAM. And I'm just going to try and take a look here on my own and see what we have, because it's very, very fine print. So we have, should have 32 gigs. Whoops, 32 gig sticks of this. And so we have 4 gig, 1 rank, PC3 at 10,600R, right? So that's what we got. We got 32 sticks of that. Now what I'm actually going to be doing is 2 of these. I already have additional RAM on the way, and 2 of these nodes we're basically going to take the RAM out of it and throw it in the garbage, because it's not, well, I might be able to sell it on eBay for 10 or 20 bucks or something. But 2 of these units I'm going to completely redo with each with 64 gigs of RAM. So we'll check that out, but I definitely need to address this heatsink that is no good to me. So we'll get this to slide back on. Sure that's on, and I'll just go ahead and slide this in one of these holes. And again, just like the power supplies, they have a relief lever. I can pull on this as hard as I want, it doesn't come out. But if I squeeze the lever and pull, the node comes out. So that's really cool. Like I said, each one of these are a separate machine, right? So that's really, really neat. Let's take a look at each one of these just really quickly. This one I'm not going to take the plastic off. I'm just going to take a little visual look unless I see anything wrong. And when I look at this one, I can see clearly that this heatsink has both mounts. Both mounts are cleanly installed on the PCB, and both mounts are connected. And when I look at the other ones, they're all connected as well. So that looks really good. All the connections look good. Everything else looks great on this as well. So I'm happy with that just the way it is, rather than take the plastic off. There's nothing else we really need to look at anyway. And actually, we have our mezzanine card over here. Something I just noticed. Our mezzanine card is PCI Express as well. So that's PCIX below profile. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. So you got PCI Express low profile that sits this way. This here looks like a PCIX connector. But I wouldn't be able to plug anything into it because it's not going to sit very well. I guess I'd have to use an extender. What is it called? What do you got this? RIM 4 IOM? I'll have to check that out. I'm not sure. Really not sure. Again, like I say, I'm very new to the server market. But at least I know I can plug in one PCI Express card. And over here, if that qualifies as PCI Express, I can put a I can put a riser on that, and I can Frankenstein this in there, and then maybe get some additional maybe get an additional raid card in there or something like that. I'm not sure. But we'll plug that in. And we'll grab another one, take a look at it. And again, I'm just going to take a quick visual look. This is just make sure I got what I paid for kind of thing. Again, this one, both mounts are there for that particular heat sink. All the other ones look good. All the RAM looks in place. Everything else looks pretty good on this one. We'll go ahead and slide it in. And behind door number 4, once again, visually, all the mounts are there. All of the mounts are fully attached on the heat sinks, and everything else does look fairly well. And in case you're wondering, yes, all 4 of these units are identical, although I do have some processors on the way as well, where I'm going to be popping off these heat sinks, and I'm actually going to swap out these processors for some slightly newer ones. So I have a couple of 2637 V2s coming, and I have a couple of 2630 V2s coming. Of course, Xeons. And I think those are the numbers anyway. So right now what I have are 6-core 2 gigahertz, and I will be swapping out one of these nodes with 3.5 gigahertz 4 cores, 2 of them again, and then I will be swapping out another node with 2.6 gigahertz 6 cores, and the other 2 will be, you know, sort of a lower power kind of thing, in order to just, you know, kind of be lower power. And I'll run different things on each node. Like, I'll make use of these. But anyway, we'll slide this in. And there we go. And then, as you can see, now that it's heavy as snot, like I can't even lift this thing up without putting a knee down. But now you can see the way this is aligned. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 separate machines in the same chassis, as well as 2 power supplies to supply the whole thing. So this is my new toy there, guys. And I'll have to figure out exactly how this all works. Looks like I have 2 gigabit connections. And it's supposed to have IPMI, so I don't know if they use SFP for the IPMI or if the SFP is actually a network connection. I have no friggin' idea at this point, but I will figure that out and go from there. Until then, guys, cheers.